Welcome back, Earth Angel community. This is a story about how I healed my anxiety naturally, and this is all about frequency. There was a time in my life where I was suffering from panic attacks. I was living in anxiety. I was worried, stress, fear, all of it. It was so consuming, and it felt like I could never get out of it, honestly. And it wasn't until I realized that anxiety is a frequency. And this is emitting that frequency in all aspects of my life, and that was the frequency I was living in. So I realized that I had the power to elevate out of this frequency. And this allows me to free myself of anxiety to this day when it still comes up. And it allowed me to free myself of that time where I was consumed in it. So this is the story about how I was able to heal myself naturally from anxiety using frequency tools such as the ones behind me. First, let's talk about why anxiety is frequency and how that even relates. So essentially, simply put, every emotion emits a frequency, and there are some that are positive and there are some that are negative, or some that are higher vibration and some that are lower vibration. And these can be kind of categorized, such as high vibration would be joy, love, positivity, gratitude, euphoria, bliss, peace, harmony, all of those emotions. And we know that when we think about and recall an event, or right here, right now, how are you feeling, right? You can tap into that and feel what it feels like to be in a harmonious state, which is love, bliss, harmony, joy, versus the lower vibrating states, which is anxiety, fear, worry, stress, guilt, shame, all of those. And they really consume ourselves. And this is how we are showing up in the world when we are in these frequency states. For example, when you come into contact with someone and you say their vibe was off, that's because their heart, their auric field is emitting a frequency. And that frequency you're reading into. So you are kind of being this reader of frequency and seeing where they are in their state of being. And some people are living in anxiety, fear, worry, stress, and that's why you can kind of feel that when you are surrounding individuals. So this is how we are showing up, and this is how we can shift our energy, our state of being, by understanding frequency even more, and even understanding that emotion is emitting a frequency at all times. So our emotional state is the frequency state of our being in that now moment. It's really important to become aware of our frequency at all times, and this will allow us to be conscious of when we can shift our frequency out of those low vibrations, out of those lower kind of polarities into higher polarities and higher frequency states, so that we can not only show up better for ourselves and this world, but also for us to enjoy life more. Because what is a life living in anxiety, stress, and fear when this life is meant to be lived in joy, happiness, positivity, and bliss, and it is actually set up for that. We have this idea that life is set up and it's so hard and it's this and that, and I understand that some predicaments are hard and they're challenging, but what do we have control over? Ask yourself that right here, right now. What do I have control over? The control is over your state of being. That is the ultimate control that we have. Our environment, sometimes we can't control. Our circumstances, right? We can say that right here, right now, that maybe it's out of our control. However, what is in our control and what we can focus on is our state of being. So how can we elevate our frequency and rise above anxiety, fear, stress, worry, guilt, shame, all those lower vibrations, into that is vibrating at a higher rate and can be felt by others, felt by the world, felt by the universe, and that's where we want to live in. So now that you are aware that every emotion is emitting a frequency, just like our thoughts, however, we're not getting into that right now, we're getting into emotional states. All of our emotional being, our emotional states emit a frequency. Now that we are aware of that, the question is, how can we rise above and change our frequency to change our being and our emotional charge and how we're showing up in the world? Well, you are seeing exactly what I use, or one of the techniques that I have used throughout my life that is just so near and dear to my heart, which is sound healing. This is a sound bowl that emits a frequency. Now, this is a G sharp 4, which doesn't really matter to hear right now, but what you need to know is that this is tuned to a specific hertz, and it emits a frequency that is relaxing. It emits a frequency that can lower our heart rate. It emits a frequency that can soothe us and allow us to shift into lower states of consciousness, meaning that the vibration is lower and slower. It's a higher state of consciousness, but it's a lower frequency rate that the wavelengths are being emitted. So when we are in high stress, we are in beta, which is very high frequency, and when we are in inner peace and meditative states and low stress, we are in theta and alpha brainwave states, which are lower and slower. So that being said, simply put, sound healing can shift you into lower and slower states of being, which is associated with meditation, rest, rejuvenation, cellular upgrade, and a lot of other benefits. But most importantly, we can heal our anxiety naturally by using frequency. Because what are we doing? We understand that anxiety is a frequency, so we're matching it with what it is, frequency. And we are allowing ourselves to shift into a new vibration, into a new frequency. It really is the power of sound healing. Your brain becomes one with the frequencies that are being emitted through brain entrainment or brain synchronization, meaning that you are literally tuning in just like a radio to the frequency that is being emitted. And this frequency is that of relaxation, rejuvenation, and it's going to lower and slower our heart rate, but also our brainwave state. So meaning that we are going to be able to shift into a lower vibration of more meditative states. And this meditative state will allow us to change our state of being. Because if we are living in anxiety, what do we need to do? Change that. We need to change our reality, our now moment. So sound healing can assist with that. And it is one of the best ways, in my opinion, to move through anxiety and stress and worry, because it really grounds you into the here and now, and it allows you to kind of take a eagle eye perspective on your life and the moment, and to move through it in a way that is really beautiful and profound. So how can you engage in sound healing then? One is to be and look for sound healing classes in your area. I'm speaking on myself because I am a sound healer and have been doing this for years. So I know that it exists in so many areas of the world, and all it takes is a little bit of research to find it. So there's a lot of sound healing classes that are available. As well, you can find it free. And there's resources on YouTube where you can find sound healing. Of course, my channel has a lot of that, but you can just find it on anywhere and search for theta brainwave states or find sound healing live. And you can also buy yourself one. You can buy yourself a crystal bowl for you to play. It's an incredibly meditative state to be in, to play a crystal bowl and to heal yourself naturally. Of course, I have a ton of bowls behind me because I love this and this is my life. However, I started with one bowl too. So you can just start with one bowl and just go around and play and create a nice trance for yourself to shift into meditative state. So this is one way to quickly alter your state of being from stress, anxiety, fear into that of bliss and inner peace. And this leads into my next technique or tool that has allowed me to really shift into this blissful state, and that's taking up the essence of meditation. Meditation, of course, I talk a lot on my channel about Dr. Joe Dispenza, who has been a huge influence in my life in the sense of a grounding practice that I just resonate with. But there are a ton of other areas for meditation that's not Dr. Joe Dispenza, if that's not what you resonate with. There's so many other teachers and a beautiful platform for this is Insight Timer. Again, I am on this and offering free meditations on there and sound baths. However, there are tons of meditation teachers on there with guided meditations, or you can simply do no guide and just sit in meditation with yourself. And that can look like a lot of different things. Maybe it's listening to very slow music, maybe it's staring at nature, maybe it's being in nature, maybe it's just being with self, to allow things to arrive and fall. And that really is the essence of meditation. A lot of people think that we have to like clear the mind, empty the mind, no thoughts at all. And I think that the real essence of meditation is to bring yourself back into the present moment over and over and over again in your meditation, to where you're able to do it in your waking life, so that you can kind of requalify your thoughts and have control and command of your awareness in everyday life. So if we're sitting in meditation and you are going down the thought process of work, and you think to yourself, hey, I don't want to think about that anymore. Take a deep breath in, exhale, release, let that thought go. And that is you training yourself to be in full awareness of your awareness. Think about that. So meditation, absolutely, there's so many ways to meditate, and you could do guided, you could do with music, you could do just by staring at something in your life right here, right now. It can be sitting with self, it can be Dr. Joe Dispenza, it could be sound healing. There's so many ways to meditate, and it really is a deep practice. There was a time where I could only sit with myself for 5 minutes, and now I can sit with myself for 2 hours. So it's been a journey, and it's been practice. Number 3 is something that everyone can do at any time, which is breathwork. And breathwork can be as simple as inhaling consciously for 4 counts through the nose, and exhaling through the nose for 5 counts consciously. And you repeat that for as long as it takes for you to shift into a state of being, of bliss. And the reason why we do 1 count longer on the exhales is because the exhales is what's going to shift you into that parasympathetic nervous system and regulate yourself, which is the rest and digest, or even just restful state. So the longer your exhales, the deeper you'll be able to shift into a state of peace. And that is free 99. Everyone can do it at any time. All you have to do is breathe with conscious awareness and intention in your breath. So once again, you can inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 5 counts, rinse and repeat until you shift your state of being into that of peace and bliss. And it might take 2 minutes, it might take 10 minutes, it might take 15 minutes. I don't know how, depending on how quick we can alter ourselves. And again, it's a practice. With more time, practice, with more energy going towards being able to shift your state of being, then it will become easier and quicker for you to be in control of your states of being and raising your frequency and consciousness. Another one that heals anxiety naturally for myself and is kind of more on the extreme side, because I mean it's hot and cold exposure is what I'm talking about. So for me, I love doing hot and cold exposure. Now, this is something that I have the privilege of having access to, as I do have a lot of hot and cold exposure facilities near me. So I do sauna and cold plunge quite frequently, and this has really been a game changer. The sauna is a game changer for me, and when I go into the cold therapy and I dunk in there for 2 minutes, it changes my state of being immediately. How could it not? It's literally shocking your system and forcing you to breathe and forcing you to become completely present so that you can tame your body and your mind. Because your mind is telling you, oh my God, it's too cold. I can't feel my feet. I need to leave. I can't do this. I can't breathe. I'm hyperventilating. I'm scared. I'm going to die. Like, all these thoughts are running through your brain. And what is required, those are anxious thoughts. Those are the illusions, because in reality, you're literally just in cold water and you're fine. All you have to do is breathe. So it's training you to be able to override those feelings of anxiety and to shift them out of a frequency of fear into a state of being that is safety and ultimate bliss, right? So sauna and cold plunging is absolutely something that has amplified my life, and I highly recommend. And if you're like, oh my God, I can't do it, no, just do it, okay? Just do it. Even if it's 30 seconds, just do it and work towards it, because that's a limiting belief and it's not true. And if you want to heal your anxiety, sometimes you have to get a little bit uncomfortable and you have to try things that you won't normally do, because how are we ever going to change if we don't do that? So try and give it your best shot, and I promise you, you'll be totally fine. And finally, the one that has allowed me to really shift from anxiety into bliss is to be in nature. And I think that's a very simple one, but one that is underlooked. And I mean, I live in a city, so I was living in Toronto. I just moved out of the city, but I was living in the city, so I had to literally seek nature. I had to go find it, because I live in a concrete jungle. So it was important for me to find and seek out nature, which was going by the lake, being by the water. Of course, water for me is a really beautiful element, and I love to be near it, and it's just proven to heal us. So whether that's walks in nature, meditating by nature, being in nature, breathing in the air, all of that, being barefoot, just grounding ourselves and just separating from this connection of social media and technology and all the frequency that is around us, and actually just shifting into a state of full awareness. I know that this has been a little bit of a different video than I normally do, where I'm like literally just talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza, but I feel like I wanted to share beyond that, and this is something that is really close to my heart. Sound healing has literally changed my life. So what I'm gonna do is lead you through a little bit of a yoga and sound bath. So if you're experiencing anxiety, you can feel what this feels like in your body. It'll be super slow, super gentle, and it'll end in a beautiful sound bath journey. So get on your mats and let us do that together. And if not, then thank you so much for joining, and thank you for receiving. And if you have any comments, leave them below, and let us find each other on the mat.